international strategy. What is the strategy of this international revolutionary movement? What are the strategic weaknesses of the imperialists which make it possible for us to win? Revolutionaries around the world are in general agreement on the answer, which Lin Pai describes in the following way. U.S. imperialism is stronger, but also more vulnerable than any imperialism of the past. It sets itself against the people of the whole world, including the people of the United States. Its human, military, material, and financial resources are far from sufficient for the realization of its ambition of domination over the whole world. U.S. imperialism has further weakened itself by occupying so many places in the world, overreaching itself, stretching its fingers out wide, and dispersing its strength, with its rear so far away and its supply lines so long. The strategy which flows from this is what Che called creating many Vietnams, to mobilize the struggle so sharply in so many places that the imperialists cannot possibly deal with it all. Since it is essential to their interests, they will try to deal with it all, and will be defeated and destroyed in the process. In defining and implementing this strategy, it is clear that the vanguard, that is, the section of the people who are in the forefront of the struggle and whose class interests and needs define the terms and tasks of the revolution, of the American Revolution, is the workers and oppressed peoples of the colonies of Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Because of the level of special oppression of black people as a colony, they reflect the interests of the oppressed people of the world from within the borders of the United States. They are part of the Third World and part of the international revolutionary vanguard. The vanguard role of the Vietnamese and other Third World countries in defeating U.S. imperialism has been clear to our movement for some time. What has not been so clear is the vanguard role black people have played and continue to play in the development of the revolutionary consciousness and struggle within the United States. Criticisms of the black liberation struggle as being reactionary, or of black organizations on campus as being conservative or racist, very often express this lack of understanding. These ideas are incorrect and must be defeated if a revolutionary movement is going to be built among whites. The black colony, due to its particular nature as a slave colony, never adopted a chauvinist identification with America as an imperialist power, either politically or culturally. Moreover, the history of black people in America has consistently been one of the greatest overall repudiations of and struggle against the state. From the slave ships from Africa to the slave revolts, the Civil War, etc., black people have been waging a struggle for survival and liberation. In the history of our own movement, this has also been the case. The civil rights struggles, initiated and led by blacks in the South, the rebellions beginning with Harlem in 1964 and Watts in 1965, through Detroit and Newark in 1967, the campus struggles at all black schools in the South, and struggles led by blacks on campuses all across the country. As it is, the blacks, along with the Vietnamese and other Third World people who are most oppressed by U.S. imperialism, their class interests are most solidly and resolutely committed to waging revolutionary struggle through to its completion. Therefore, it is no surprise that time and again, in both political content and level of consciousness and militancy, it has been the black liberation movement which has upped the ante and defined the terms of the struggle. What is the relationship of this black vanguard to the many Vietnamese around the world? Obviously, this is an example of our strategy that different fronts reinforce each other. The fact that the Vietnamese are winning weakens the enemy, advancing the possibilities for the black struggle, etc. But it is important for us to understand that the interrelationship is more than this. Black people do not simply choose to intensify their struggle because they want to help the Vietnamese, or because they see that Vietnam heightens the possibilities for struggle here. The existence of any one Vietnam, especially a winning one, spurs on others not only through consciousness and choice, but through need, because it is a political and economic as well as military weakening of capitalism, and this means that to compensate, the imperialists are forced to intensify their oppression of other people. Thus, the loss of China and Cuba, and the loss now of Vietnam, not only encourages other oppressed peoples, such as the blacks, by showing what the alternative is and that it can be won, but also costs the imperialists billions of dollars, which they then have to take out of the oppression of these other peoples. Within this country, increased oppression falls heavier on the most oppressed sections of the population, so that the condition of all workers is worsened through rising taxes, inflation, and the fall of real wages and speed up. But this increased oppression falls heaviest on the most oppressed, such as poor white workers, and especially the blacks, for example, through the collapse of state services like schools, hospitals, and welfare, which naturally hits the hardest at those most dependent on them. This deterioration pushes people to fight harder to even try to maintain their present level. The most the ruling class is hurt in Vietnam, the harder people will be pushed to rebel and to fight for reform. Because there exist successful models of revolution in Cuba, Vietnam, etc., these reform struggles will provide a continually larger and stronger base for revolutionary ideas, because it needs to maximize profits by denying the reforms, and is aware that these conditions and reform struggles will therefore lead to revolutionary consciousness. The ruling class will see it more and more necessary to come down on any motion at all, even where it is not yet highly organized or conscious. It will come down faster on black people because their oppression is increasing fastest, and this makes a rebellion most thorough and most dangerous and fastest growing. It is because of this that the vanguard character and role of the black liberation struggle will be increased and intensified, rather than being increasingly equal to and merged into the situation and rebellion of oppressed white working people and youth. The crises of imperialism, the existence of Vietnam, and especially that it's winning, will therefore create a black Vietnam within the U.S. Given that black self-determination would mean fully crushing the power of the imperialists, this Vietnam has certain different characteristics than the external colonial wars. The imperialists will never get out of the U.S. until their total strength and every resource they can bring to bear has been smashed, so the black Vietnam cannot win, without bringing the whole thing down and winning for everyone. This means that this war of liberation will be the most protracted and